why you should be really careful how you treat people, but also why you should stick up for people. When I was in 8th grade, I was really good friends with this kid named Damon. Me, him, and this other friend of mine, we were all at the same table. In English class, we would joke around, talk about the same TV shows and movies. We were the loudest group by far. But near the end of the school year, Damon ended up moving. And it really sucked, but we said goodbye to Damon, who I should tell you was this small, short, funny, wisecracking kid. Didn't matter what you threw at him, he was super witty. So we said goodbye to him, we all went to 9th grade. It was either the end of 9th grade or the middle of sophomore year that I saw Damon again. He had transferred back to our school, saw him at a pep rally, and I was sitting by myself because I despised pep rally. He was like, Josadak, do you remember me? I was like, oh my gosh, David? He was so much taller, face looked different, his voice was deeper. This was obviously a different kid, but really happy to see me. So we started talking, catching up. Then I started noticing that he was getting hit in the back of the head with tiny paper balls. He wasn't even flinching. I looked behind me to see 3 boys throwing paper balls at him. What? Dude, do you see what they're doing? Yeah, I'm used to it. What? This was not the same witty boy that I knew. Oh god, I'm running out of time. Watch part 2 to see my part 2 of the kids throwing paper balls at my friend's story. So when I told Damon this was happening and he didn't seem to notice, I was very confused. The kid that I used to know would not let this fly. He instead kept his head down, insisted that it was okay, and said that he was used to it. Whatever happened between 8th grade and now completely changed the way that he viewed this behavior. I saw it as unacceptable. He thought it was okay. So instead of accepting that, I turned around and said, hey, what are we in 5th grade? The 3 boys looked at me from the top of the bleachers and said, whatever. Because that's what high schoolers who act like 5th graders say. And then I said, stop it, it's not funny. They didn't stop. They laughed. But Damon thanked me. I didn't know who this kid was anymore. I can only assume that this type of stuff was happening to him often. That kids at his new school were treating him poorly. And because of that, he thought he was less than. I literally never saw Damon again after that day, but I hope that he knows that he can stand up for himself and that that behavior is not okay. Be careful how you treat people, it stays with them. It can fundamentally change them. Bye.
My brother shot me in the eye. Story time. When we were younger, my brother was always so mean to me. Like, he always made fun of me or made me do things I didn't really want to do. Anyways, during the summer when it got really hot, me and him would always have water gun fights. And on this particular day, I remember it being really hot, so my dad decided that he was gonna surprise us with new water guns. They were really big too, like half my body size. But anyways, when he gave them to us, he told us to be really, really careful with them because they were kind of strong. And they were, because when my brother would hit me with it, I'd be like, ooh, ow. Okay, but that kind of hurted me though. So like I said, my brother was very mean, right? In the middle of our water gun fight, he pretended that his gun stopped working. So I'm like, what's wrong? We just got these. And he was like, I don't know, I think there's something stuck in my gun. Can you come look at it? So me being the big stupid dummy head that I am, I walk over to him, I'm like, let me see. And I stick my eye right into the gun hole. And he goes, do you see anything? And I'm like, no, I don't see anything at all. And then my brother goes, how about now? And he shoots it in my eye, and then my eye starts bleeding.
A little less than a month ago, I decided to house sit for a family member and her boyfriend for a week while they went to see their parents. I knew I wasn't getting paid for taking care of the house and feeding their pets, but that was okay because I live with my parents and a week away sounded like a dream come true. House sitting went fine, and I'd pretty much forgotten about it until today. The family member sent me a PayPal request with no explanation. She requested $184, and I immediately called her to ask her why she was doing this. She stated it was for my share of the bills for when I stayed at their house. I told her I took a week off of work to care for her house free of charge. She said that I still had to pay utilities. I told her to go fuck herself and hung up. Ever since, she's been messaging me saying she's going to call the police and tell everyone on Facebook about what a horrible piece of shit I am. I haven't responded to any of these messages and don't plan to. But am I missing something? Am I the asshole?
One of my fans has a crazy mother. Story time. So me and my mom decided to go to Walmart to pick up a couple things. While I was there, I ran into a little girl who happened to be a fan of mine. And she was with her mother, and her mother was wearing this black shiny bracelet. Just keep that in mind. So they come up to me and they're super nice at first, and her mom's like, hey, my daughter's a big fan of yours, do you mind taking a picture with her? So of course I'm being really nice back, and I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? The little girl comes over to me, and she was really cute too, but she stands next to me so her mom can take a picture of us. Then her mom goes, give him a hug, sweetie. And I didn't really want to do that because of social distancing, but I didn't say anything. The little girl actually opened up her mouth and she was like, Mom, I don't think I can because of social distancing. And all I said was, yeah, it's probably best that we don't. As soon as I said that, her mom starts flipping out. She calls me a horrible person, makes her daughter unfollow me, and then they storm off. And me and my mom were just like, What? Then, later on in the parking lot, as we're pulling off, something flies into the window and smacks me in the face. And when I picked it up, it was her mom's black bracelet.
Story of the time my friend made me lie to my parents. So I was either 15 or 16, and it was one of the first time that I tried. So we did a lot of that, and then we went back to her house. I started to get really paranoid, and it felt like I was floating. And every sound that I heard felt like it was echoing. I ended up getting so scared that I texted my mom and asked her to pick me up and told her what we were doing. My friend ended up seeing my phone and started freaking out. But my parents were always laid back as long as I told them the truth. And I told her that, but she still freaked out. So she told me to call my mom and tell her that we were pulling a prank on her so that I could stay. You could tell my mom thought I was lying because she was like, okay, well, I'm still gonna come pick you up. Mind you, I was supposed to sleep over. But my friend really didn't want me to leave. So she came up with this great plan. She told her little siblings to go up to my parents' car when they got there and pretend to be laughing because they fell for the joke. And my parents are not dumb. And her siblings were not actors. So my parents end up coming, like for part 2. Story of the time my friend made me lie to my parents, part 2. So my mom was not falling for it. She was like, no, I'm gonna come pick you up. So she gets to my friend's house. And like I said, my friend did not want me to leave. And she didn't want to get caught for... So she came up with this elaborate plan that her little siblings were gonna go up to my parents' car and pretend like they're in on the joke. Like I said in my last video, her little siblings were not actors. All 3 of them were under 10 at the time. So before my mom came, she rehearsed with them what they were supposed to say. She wanted them to say, oh my god, that was so funny. You guys fell for the joke. My sister and Mia told us about what they were doing and we thought it was so funny. We didn't know that you were gonna come pick up Mia. But instead, they started to fake cry. And it's so obvious when a child fake cries. They were like, please don't take me away. This whole thing was a prank. It was so obvious, so I was like, I'm just gonna go. So we get in the car, my mom looks at me, and I was like, she made me do that so she wouldn't get caught.
Story time about the time a nail salon took advantage of my blindness. Sister and I got our nails done. We used to go all the time, and while the lady was doing my nails, she asked me how I knew how much money I had. At the time, I used cash, never again after this, but I told her that I folded my bills a certain way. I told her that I folded my 20s different than my 10s, different than my 5s, different than my 1s. Anything of her asking that question, I think it's a good question, and I just thought she was curious. Got done with my nails, she walked me towards the front, and my sister was actually just finishing up with hers, so it was perfect. There's another man at the front, and he asked me how I knew how much money I had. I told him the same thing. Before I left to go to the nail salon, I made sure exactly how much money I had. My sister helped me count it, helped me make sure that I folded the right bills, just so I knew how much I had, how much I would spend. I gave her the money. Positive that I gave her the right amount because it was just folded, it was folded perfectly, and I counted it out. She takes it, starts talking in a different language, and then tells me that I owe her $20 more. I didn't, and I told her the exact amount I gave her. And she's like, no, you didn't give me this amount, you gave me that amount. Like for part 2. Part 2, the time a nail salon took advantage of my blindness. We go back and forth a few times. I'm positive that I gave her the right amount, really counting it back to her, and she's like, no, you're wrong. And at this point, more people are walking into the salon, so I'm getting really uncomfortable. Back at it, I should have pulled out my phone that has a money reader on it and read her the money using my screen reader, but I was super uncomfortable and more people were walking in, and I just wanted to leave it at that. My sister was paying somewhere else. I had no idea where she was, and I didn't want to call out to her or anything, so when we got home, I wanted to double check that these people were actually scamming me. My sister helped me look at the money, and aside from the amount I paid for my nails, obviously in the tip, I was missing $20. We can learn something from most situations, and this situation just taught me to not carry around cash. I never went to that nail salon again. I actually got my nails somewhere else today, and I think they look pretty good. I mean, I can't see them, but let me know.
Me and my daughter used to be best friends. We did everything together, and she truly was the light of my life. But things started to change on her teens. Moodiness, lashing out, lies, etc. I just thought it had to do with her age and that she would grow out of it. I really tried everything. Family therapy, long talks about how much I loved her. None of it worked. She would either roll her eyes back or spit more of her venom. My husband works really long hours and isn't much help, to be honest. My husband is white and I am black, and my daughter is mixed, but she looks white and she really takes after her father. I really don't know what I did wrong, but her dislike for me began to become pure hatred. She would question all the time how someone like me could be her mother, when she was white and I was black. At some point, she demanded a DNA test, and I said sure, if she paid for it, and she was not